most beautiful things in life are not just things.
You're listening to
They're people
Lost
and places.
Pupusa. This is Leydi
Memories and
Libertad,
pictures.
day 103
They're
timing.
feelings and moments. And smiles and laughter.
Trigger warning, mentions of gang violence, state repression, and dementia. This isn't the first time the U.S. has funneled money into El Salvador under the banner of anti-violence. Programs like the Central America Regional Security Initiative, CARSI, have long aimed to bolster security, yet their impact on everyday Salvadorans remains debatable. While some community-based efforts funded by CARSI have shown modest reductions in robberies and murders, their overall effectiveness is still questioned, slowed by inconsistent strategies, lack of oversight, and the absence of real accountability. Just last week, Bukele met with U.S. officials to propose something that sounds like fiction but isn't, a deal to accept deportees, including Venezuelans and even convicted criminals, into El Salvador's mega prison CECOT in exchange for financial compensation. Human rights organizations are sounding the alarm. Meanwhile, the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Salvadoran man deported by mistake despite a court order protecting him, has cast an even harsher light on the stakes. The U.S. Supreme Court has since ordered his return, but the damage is done. It's not just about legality, it's about how easily human beings become bargaining chips. I think about the guy from Maryland, caught in legal limbo, a political pawn between two governments. I remember watching Trump years ago, cracking offensive jokes with Bukele at a press conference, while Bukele just sat there, smiling politely, writing out the meeting. The smiles didn't match the silence underneath. Everyone knew this wasn't about safety, it was about control. I recall before my departure to China, a family member proposed marriage, not out of love, but as a desperate bid for stability amidst Trump's immigration policies. He eventually found another arrangement, but the desperation was real. He could have easily ended up like Kilmar, or the guy from Maryland. Any of my cousins with permits, or even myself returning, have to wonder, are we still safe? Do we still belong? As a woman, those questions carry more weight. We drove past the iras, those massive silos where they used to store grain for tortillas back when the dream was that everyone would get their fair share. Now they just sit there, towering and abandoned, slicing through the blue midday sky like ghosts of a promise no one talks about anymore. A week earlier, just after I arrived, my aunt's husband told me how they used to get school lunches when he was a kid. Just a little milk and some cheese. These days, it's different. Parents coordinate over WhatsApp or Facebook to figure out who's going to cook for the kids in the canton that week. If they don't want to, they pay $10 instead. Under Duarte, before he took the money and ran, there was a promise that no one would go hungry, that everyone would eat. It reminded me of Animal Farm, or the stories you hear about the Soviet Union before it collapsed, when everything was supposed to be equal, but nothing actually was. I remember meeting a woman back when I was a teenager, organizing with a civil rights group. She had lived through that kind of system. I never would have known unless she told me. The same day, my aunt and I went to the mercado. It reminded me of the fish markets in China or Cambodia, narrow, chaotic aisles stacked with produce, household goods, raw meat, buckets of fruit. You could get lost if you weren't careful. I held my small purse in front of me, half wanting to take photos, but also feeling like a tourist. Later in the car, my aunt casually mentioned that one of the pupusa ladies she knew had been shot by a gang over rent. She brought it up because people used to joke that her daughter looked like she could be my cousin's kid, light skin, light eyes. I sucked on a bombong I'd bought for a quarter and wondered whether the gang actually owned the building or just claimed they did. My other cousin just shrugged. She didn't know. That was only a few years before Bukele's government rounded up the gangs and threw them into CECOT, placing rival groups together in the same overcrowded facility. Outside organizations raised alarms over human rights violations, but most Salvadorans just wanted to survive. Everyone had lost someone. Thinking about the love of my life who's not available anymore, but the truth is out now and I feel relief. Timing that I was finally able to walk around in safety when just 3 years earlier that wasn't possible. My love on the other side of the world tangled in paperwork, bureaucracy, and whatever instability his government is facing. My cousin frustrated, saying Bukele had made higher education feel worthless, angry at the system, angry at his aging parents. And my aunt, who spent decades as a nurse for the entire canton, she treated everyone, neighbors, kids, strangers, for whatever they had to give, a chicken, some cheese, a bit of corn. Everyone loved her, everyone knew her name. Now she's aging. She asked me 3 times who my mother was. I told her my mom and her sister share the same name, and I reminded her that she once treated my mom when she was just a little girl. Timing. The only thing that felt truly timely was that I finally submitted my taxes on time. For the first time in 3 years, I could finally breathe. The refund came just in time to leave the country. I was still technically a foreigner, but I was slowly learning that I was also from here. I could imagine fighting my uncle for the land he stole from my grandmother, or just having a small farm someday with my future love. Life could be really good here. For the first time in years, I felt relief. And I knew that relief wasn't freedom, but it was something. That was Leydi Libertad. You're listening to Lost Pupusa.